I recently started learning game dev, and I'm finally making my first game, Idol Reverie, an idle RPG focused on satisfying progression, like equipment farming, skill building, and the like. Made mainly for mobile first, but it'll be available on Steam too. The idea is your character walks forward infinitely through a chosen area, such as the forest, defeating enemies along the way. Enemies drop equipment, gold, and EXP, slowly letting you shape your build over time. It's a game that mostly plays itself, and the visual part is there to show you the fruits of your labor. Like, made a cool AoE focused build? Watch your character destroy waves of enemies you couldn't defeat before, or one shot enemies with a single target build. Throughout the first month, the game has gone through a lot of change, from the very first prototype version to the current alpha version. So let's talk about it. How's my experience making the game so far? So this is how the game looked at first. This prototype took me 3 days of work to make, and is a perfectly functional version of the game. Gameplay wise, nothing really changed from here. I just added flavor, really. Just like we talked about earlier, our character walks forward infinitely, and when in range of an enemy, they walk towards each other and fight. After the fight, our character walks back to the center and then they continue walking forward, almost like in a trance, daydreaming as they walk through the woods. They never actually think that looking at this. It's just a silly capsule shape walking forward and fighting another silly capsule shape in a textureless world. But the idea was there, and that's how I came across the idea for the game's name too. An idle or thoughtless reverie, walking daydream. The first version was an MVP, what's known as a minimum viable product. It had the base mechanics without need to make the rest of the game work. No balancing was really done. Stats were kind of broken, and there was like no formula done for attack speed at all. But it worked, and that's what was really important. It was my own little game that I had made with my own hands, and that, by itself to me, was awesome. For the UI, I had to go through a couple of drafts before finally deciding on the final version, which was a dreamlike UI with lots of clouds and sky motifs. I'm really proud of the style I came up with. My favorite is the character screen. I added like a parallax background and it made the scene look really cozy. I think it helps hold everything together really nicely. Aside from that, I added some clouds in the corner of the panels, making it look like they were holding the panel up, and at the bottom, a big cloud shape for the navigation bar. If you look closely, you can see some fluffy particles coming out of the clouds as well. As for the gameplay screen, I separated it into a few parts. We have an area for the player info down below that shows pretty much all vital player information, like health, EXP, the player level, and the player name. On the right, we have a little side tab with gameplay related buttons. For now, we only really have this orb, which opens up the level up panel. The idea for this one was that I wanted like thought bubbles coming out of the character's head and making up the menu. So I added this transition where the camera like moves up in order to position the character right under the thought bubbles. I thought it ended up looking nice. Aside from screen specific things, we have a bottom and a top bar for framing. The bottom bar has buttons for each screen, such as gameplay and character, while the top bar shows some extra information alongside the settings button. I could talk about this for hours. I was really happy coming up with these ideas for the UI, and I thought it turned out really nicely, but looking back there's a lot that could be improved. I feel like as I'm drawing all of this, my perception of things changes, making drawings that I previously thought looked cute suddenly have a lot of issues and areas that could be improved. It's weird. But as I'm finding out, over polishing is one of the biggest dangers of game development. Like, I could keep improving the UI forever, but I do need to call it at some point and move on. So even though there's a lot of improvement to do, I decided to stop here. The next part was really important. I needed to set up the environment, which meant figuring out an art direction for the game and executing it. Originally, my game's visuals were heavily inspired by Pokemon Black and White, so the very first thing I did was study the game's art style a lot. Like how are trees done, how are sprites done, what canvas size do they use. I quickly learned that a lot of things in that game are actually 3D objects with pixel art textures. For example, this tree. Looking at this tree, you wouldn't actually think that without the textures, it's actually just like 4 flat objects placed in a way that resembles a tree. And so the next step became clear to me: learn Blender. I purchased this course by Game Dev TV on Udemy. It's a really great course. I had a lot of fun with it, and it definitely taught me a lot of very important things. There were ups and downs, and I got stuck a couple of times, but I came out of it really enjoying 3D modeling, and also finding it very difficult. Here's some simple examples of what I ended up doing in that course. And with that, I was finally ready for... Firstly, I decided I wanted the game to have a grid system for placing tiles and objects. Kinda like how RPG Maker does it, which is pretty much how every retro Pokemon game also does it. And so I was set on 3D tile maps. The first thing I did was draw the tile set itself. It's not my first time drawing a tile set, but the last time I made it was maybe when I was like 14. So I had to relearn a lot of things. This one video by Jess Coates really helped me understand a lot of things and how to implement them in Unity. I highly recommend it. The thing I spent a lot of time in was figuring out what to do for objects. I wasn't really sure what style I wanted to go for. Like, should I make actual 3D objects for the trees? 2D objects for the grass? What about the rocks? At first, I tried making trees just like Pokemon Black and White. And as it was my first attempt, they didn't really look quite right to me. I decided to try out a different style. Let me show you. For example, this is my tree. From the front, you can't really tell that this tree is actually flat. But that's okay, because the camera is never actually gonna look at it from this side. The important thing was giving the illusion of 3D. A lot of other environmental objects were made in the same way, such as the grass, the flowers, and the rocks. Of course, not every object is going to be like this, but for what we currently had, I thought it worked pretty well, and so I settled on this. I really like how simple it was, and I love simple things. Next, I wanted to give more life to my environment. I personally really like seeing trees and grass waving in the wind. It's so, oddly comforting and atmospheric. So I added that next. It took me some fiddling with Blender's animation system, but I'm happy with how it turned out. Next, some wind particles, some god rays, and I was done. I could experiment more with more styles, but again, over polishing is really dangerous. I want to finish this game in 3 months after all. The only thing left was post-processing. I fiddled with the settings for a while to get something that looked pretty good, though it was a bit difficult since sometimes it would look too bright or too dark. But in the end, I got somewhere I was pretty satisfied with. This is how it ended up. And there we go, we did it. I had the same issue here as I did with the UI. It looked great at first until suddenly it didn't, because my perception of the drawings changed as I improved. But instead of dwelling, I decided to move on. That's it for my first devlog. I learned a lot throughout this whole thing, and it'll definitely be a lot faster the second time around I do all this. I work on the game an average 8 hours a day, and very frequently 12 plus hours straight. It was just so much fun that nothing else I could really compare. I think I really found my passion with game dev, and I'm really glad I did. I was, and still am, going through some bad burnout with my current job, and I'm currently in time off while I recover. I became really depressed. It was really hard to do anything. But game dev brought me back to life and kinda gave me a purpose, as well as the possibility of a future where I can work with what I love, instead of being dead inside all day working a job I don't like. Anyway, my next step is working on more fun mechanics that will actually make the game fun to play, and maybe even exciting to look at, like equipment and skills. Letting you actually build your character to be unique is going to really change things up. I'm really excited to see this working, and once I'm done with the next version, I will be back with another devlog. Thanks so much for watching. If you would like to see more in the future, please subscribe. I would also really appreciate any comments. I love interacting with the community, and I would love to hear some feedback as well. Also, I left a lot of links in the description for videos that really helped me out through this learning process. Please check them out as they are all really good. Bye everyone, till next time.